Okay, adjustments to the agenda. Under old business. We're going to do that first because I think it's going to be a fairly quick one. I have spoken with the school board members and the administrators pertaining to A and B under old business. And A is job descriptions and B is reading policies. And it was a general consensus, speaking to the other board members singularly, that we employ the efforts of the administrators to do the job descriptions and the policy adoptions. And what they're going to do is revise the ones that need revision and add new ones if new ones need to be added and what have you. And when they submit them to the school committee, we'll look at them at that time for the first time, and then we'll accept them or debate them or whatever we have to do with them. But it's also, I wanted to make clear to the administrators that weren't there that when you do bring the recommendations to us for the job descriptions and the policies, to have the old ones so that we can compare what the changes are from the old to new. And we're not interested in the revision dates. We're interested in the last known date that the policy was adopted. No revision dates. Don't care about them. We want the date of the last known adoption of that particular policy.
But we have to put the revision dates on the policy.
You can put them on. Yeah. So, it doesn't need a vote, but I just wanted to get everybody. Okay, wait just a minute. What is it, Jane?
Would you clarify something for me, please? Is it the sole responsibility of the administrators to formulate these policies and bring them to you without feedback from anyone
No,
else?
Bill knows exactly what we want,
Okay.
and he is going to form committees with the people that are involved with the particular job description or policy, and you all get to.
It's a lot of burden up on my shoulders.
No, I'm glad to hear that. So, I just need a general consensus from the other board members if this is something that we are all in agreement with, or do we want to continue to beat ourselves to death here at the meetings and do it? So, Elaine, what say you?
This is fine. This is a good change.
Becky?
It's fine with me.
I'm good with it. Glenn?
Fine with me, I think they should
Crystal?
have him put it in
Okay.
their job description.
So is everyone clear on, I know Bill is, so I guess that's good enough. So, that's all taken care of. We'll get back to C, the bidding purchasing part, later on in the agenda.
So the job,
And-
not to interrupt, sorry. The job descriptions that we did that they voted on last couple weeks ago, I did ask, those policies did pass. The principal, the assistant to the high school, WS teaching principal, and the assistant to elementary, they passed the 2-to-1 vote, so they shouldn't have to worry about
That's
this
right.
again.
That's right.
We'll take care of that under adjustment, under approval of minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
but those will be included in the entire packet that's presented to the board at the time that they get presented, after they get revised or whatever.
Thought they were already approved.
But they were approved.
Right, but we want all, we're going to have all the policies in one lump sum here. We're going to do it all at once.
But you shouldn't have to redo those ones because they were already approved.
That's correct.
Okay.
But I want them included in
The package.
the
Yeah,
packets.
okay.
Everyone okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That was the only adjustment to the agenda I had. Does anyone else have one? No? Okay, good.
I do.
Oh, you do, all right.
I just have, we need to talk about academic study. And I just would like to talk about that if you guys are okay with that. at some point.
Yep, let's see, let's put that under committee report. No,
We didn't
the,
have a report tonight, so.
what's that?
We didn't have a report
Okay.
tonight, so I didn't know where to put it.
Yeah.
New business.
Yeah, let's put it under new business,
You take it up first.
and we'll get to it. at some point.
It's short.
But that's what we like. Okay, approval of the minutes of Tuesday, October 6, 2015.
Just one adjustment, and that is what was reported that job descriptions did pass on a 2-1-1 vote. Abstentions need to count for or against. They're a non-count. So that's the only adjustment that I have.
I'm not, we're good with this, but I did happen to read something out of the, I can't remember where I was, on some website today, and under, that had to do with Robert's Rules of Orders, and it said there that an abstention goes in favor of the prevailing vote, which would mean that it would be a yes, I guess,
Yeah, in that case.
in
it
that
would be,
case.
yeah.
But I don't know.
But I read through and it
Yeah.
said just a non-vote.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's something we'll have to deal with later, maybe.
Okay? Any other adjustments that I need to make?
If everyone's happy with the minutes, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as written.
As
The
changed,
one
as
adjustment.
admitted.
As a-
Oh, with the
as
one
amended,
adjustment,
yeah.
yeah, as
Thank
amended,
you.
sorry. Thank you, Bill.
I'll second that. Any more discussion? All in favor of accepting the minutes of Tuesday, October 6, 2015 as amended? All in favor? It's 5-0. All right. Under number 5, we have communications and correspondence.
The only communication I received, actually, I did receive one today. And I didn't bring it with me, but we have received the PEPG, which is the money for providing for evaluations for administrators and teachers under the new process. We received a grant for that, thanks to Patty and everybody. Not only did we receive the $4,600 here in Baileyville, but part of our partners over in Princeton also received the same grant. And in discussing it with the DOE today, it appears that East Range will also. We're all working on the same process, and therefore it'll give us about $13,800 to help us get prepared in order to put our evaluation system in place and pay for the costs and teacher training. So that's really a big plus.
It is.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the only communication I got.
I just wanted to take a second to let the other board members know that when I was up at your office today, Bill, that I signed a paper. Did you bring it with you?
No, I didn't.
Okay. I signed a paper that allows the, I guess there was $427,000 budgeted for
Special education.
special ed, and the paper needed to be signed by the chairman to, I guess, allow a lot for the spending of it.
Allow for the expenditure
Okay.
by federal law.
So I just wanted the other board members to know that that's been signed, and the reason why it was signed, special ed. And it was budgeted.
Oh, yeah.
All right, public participation. Does anyone like to make a comment? But before you do, I strongly urge that none of your comments are derogatory, or accusatory, or condescending in any way, shape, or form. Not going to happen tonight. If you choose not to abide by this, I'm going to ask you one time to leave. So keep your comments You can disagree all you want. I'm not telling you have to agree with everything. I'm sure you won't. But when you stand up and make a comment, be very, very tactful. None of us are going to get browbeat, including you people. Not going to allow anybody else in the audience to browbeat each other, let alone have you people out there browbeat us. So keep that in mind, please. And I ask that the adults in the room show a good example for the students that are here, if there are any. And you show, actions speak louder than words, I assume, and just by showing good example, what it's like to be an adult. More importantly, there's going to be one person speaking at a time, and only when it's recognized by the chairperson. And I refuse to allow anybody to outbursts, to interruptions, or anything while someone has the floor. That's just common courtesy, and please, we'll get through this as quickly and smoothly as possible if we abide by these rules, okay? So, does anyone have a public comment that they'd like to share with us? Tom McHugh.
Yes, a moment ago, you said that guidelines for the development of policies have been forwarded to the superintendent so he can supervise that development. I don't care to debate that at all. I'd just like to point out that that type of guideline ought to be made public.
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you're asking for, Tom, what you're saying. What guideline are you speaking about?
You made the statement that Mr. Superintendent had been given guidelines as to how policies should be developed by the committees. No problem with that. I just think that your guideline to the superintendent is a matter of public interest and should be made public.
Okay, the guidelines, the only guidelines that I have imposed on the superintendent are to go back to the last adopted date on these policies. And when they submit these policies, we want the old ones and the revisions in the same packet so that we can compare. Those are the only two guidelines that I just spoke about that I have asked for.
That's fine.
Okay. Anyone else? Superintendent's report.
Okay, in your packet you have a report. Just a reminder that next couple of days, some of you will be traveling to Augusta for the MSBA convention. I enclosed draft resolutions, I believe, and the schedule for you. I have some others with me if you do not have one. Truck has arrived and put to use. We'll have the plow put on tomorrow. Now that we're getting ready for snow, but it seems to be arriving in some parts of the state and other places. I guess we need to be ready for that no matter what. The office has been pretty busy. The state switched over to an electronic filing system called NEO, which has had a few glitches and can be somewhat confusing at times and has forced us to re-enter information that was really already in a past system, but such as happens when the state changes electronic systems. Interesting enough, they'll be bringing on an electronic system for teacher certification and recertification in upcoming months. I can't wait to see what kind of glitches that will be. Quite frankly, they're 8 weeks behind right now in just taking care of fingerprints. So basically, if you were to take a position, they give you an 8-week window to go ahead and work while they process that certification. Now they're 8 weeks behind, so you could finish that certificate or finish doing some work for 8 weeks while you're waiting for it and still have to wait another 8 weeks to see your certification arrive, so it's kind of a problem. Just a reminder that we had teachers' negotiations. I met with the teachers last night. We're going to continue negotiations. The next meeting is scheduled for October 28th at 3:30. I sent that out today to board members on negotiations. We've been reviewing our present camera and security systems, and have initiated a grant for some updates and replacements for the building and a system to be installed on buses. Although this grant application was released this past month, given the events that have occurred, I kind of expect that there may be some more grant funds that may be available. So hopefully somewhere along the line, we'll be able to find enough money to update our system and take care of our buses at the same time. We'll just keep working on that. And if I'm successful on this first one, I won't have to worry about anything else, but we'll see what happens. That's about it. I did put on your table in front of you. Elaine asked a question at the last meeting. I want to make sure you had it. An accounting based on the loans that we took and what we spent. Basically, we've only got 3 expenditures. We're waiting 30 days on the truck for payment. The plow we put on tomorrow, we'll make payment on that. And we haven't received the bill for paving, the finished paving yet. So those are the only 3 things that are outstanding. We haven't spent a whole lot yet.
Would you like to mention who the DOT let the bid go to for our standardized testing?
Yeah, I can. Interestingly enough, we're going backwards in time again, and the DOE released today that we're going back to measured progress for our testing, or at least that's the winner so far of the bid, although they've got some time to review those and to argue over more, to present some other information, and it looks like SAT is coming back again as well. So those are the 2. So we progressed from measured progress to smarter balance, and just like the hills and valleys, we're going back to measured progress of some kind. We're not sure what it'll look like or what it'll be or when we'll see it or anything about it. I'm sure it'll have some issues. It'll be electronic to start with, and that creates its own issues, but we'll see how it goes.
The SAT is in one job.
No. Yeah. Say that with a smile.
Is that it?
Yep.
Okay, extracurricular recommendations.
Okay, in front of you, I've placed a sheet. The interview committee met. I was able to make a couple of the interviews, but I was in a previous meeting. And I'd like to start with, I'm going to do these a little backwards because of what I've been asked to do, I guess. Boys varsity basketball. Ben Maloney was the only person we interviewed candidate, and I'd recommend Ben for varsity boys basketball. JV basketball, we interviewed Ryan Lincoln and Barney Perry. At this point, I would recommend Barney. And boys junior high, we interviewed Barney. He had interest. Ryan Lincoln wasn't interviewed, but indicated interest at that. At this point in time, I don't really have a candidate unless we'd like to appoint one of those 2 individuals. Girls varsity basketball, interviewed Arnold Clark, Michelle Ripley, and Michaeline Spencer. Our recommendation is for Arnold Clark. Girls JV, we interviewed Michelle Ripley and Michaeline Spencer, and recommendation is for Michelle Ripley. And girls junior high basketball, Michaeline Spencer was the applicant, interviewee, and recommendation. For wrestling, we had 1 interview, Carl Ripley, and Carl's done an excellent job, and we recommend Carl Ripley for wrestling. Cheering, Missy Campbell was the only applicant interviewed, and would recommend Missy Campbell for cheering. Senior advisor, only candidate we had was Pat Metta. I'd recommend Pat Metta for senior advisor. And academic decathlon, again, the only applicant left out there in the pool was Pat Metta, and I'd recommend Pat for academic decathlon. She's in for training. You can dispose of those how you'd like, one at a time together, however.
Yeah, we're going to do them one at a time. And, we'll start out with boys varsity basketball. I'll entertain a motion to accept the recommendation of Ben Maloney.
I make a motion to accept the recommendation of Ben Malone.
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? It's a 5-0. Or, I'm sorry, yep. All right, varsity girls basketball. There were 3 on that. Arnold Clark, Michelle Ripley, and Michaeline Spencer. And I will make a motion to approve Michelle Ripley for girls varsity basketball.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept Michelle Ripley as girls varsity basketball. All in favor? There's 4 all opposed. 1 abstention. 4, 0, 1. All right, girls junior high basketball. Recommendation was Michaeline Spencer. I make a motion that we accept Michaeline Spencer as girls junior high basketball. I'm sorry. I retract that motion. I retract that. Made a mistake. The girls JV basketball. I move that we accept the nomination of Michaeline Spencer for girls JV basketball.
Second that.
Okay, been moved and seconded. Accept Michaeline Spencer as girls JV basketball coach. All in favor? It's 5-0. Okay. Boys JV basketball. The two nominations are Ryan Lincoln and Bonnie Perry. Motion to accept either one.
I make a motion to accept Barney Perry.
Is there a second? Motion fails. Is there another motion for boys JV basketball for nomination?
I make a motion that we hire Ryan Lincoln for boys JV basketball.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to hire Ryan Lincoln as boys JV basketball coach. All in favor? 4, all opposed? 4-1. Let's see. Boys junior high basketball. We have, I guess, 1 nomination. Or, I guess the recommendation was to reopen. Or you mean re-advertise?
You have Barney who applied. That's, Ryan just showed interest. He didn't actually apply for it, so.
What's the recommendation of reopen?
Not knowing where you might appoint Barney, I didn't know what would be available. So I'd recommend Barney, obviously, for that position at this point, given that the others are filled.
Mm-hmm.
Can I say something?
You certainly can.
Well, my feeling on that, as he was recommended for JV basketball, which is where he actually wanted to be, I'm assuming, and to put him in junior high, he might not be,
That's where he currently is.
that is where he is now.
Yes, yes.
I just don't want to hurt his feelings.
He applied for
No,
both.
he applied for both and interviewed for both. Obviously, he wanted to move up if he could.
So I guess I'm not real, up on things. He's been teaching, not teaching, I'm sorry, doing basketball for junior high for many years,
Correct.
and he wanted to move up to the
That was
JV.
his- Yes.
Okay,
Would he like to have done, but that didn't happen, obviously. So
okay.
Junior high is still there for him.
Okay.
that I'd recommend it for it as well.
I make a motion to recommend Barney Perry for junior high.
It's been moved to recommend Barney Perry as the boys junior high basketball coach. Is there a second? There being none, I guess we reopen. Next is wrestling. Carl Ripley is the nomination. I move that we accept Carl Ripley as the wrestling coach.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept Carl Ripley as a wrestling coach. All in favor? Looks like 5-0. Cheering, Missy Campbell was nominated.
I make a motion to accept Missy.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to accept Missy Campbell as a cheering coach. All in favor? Senior advisor, Patricia Meta. Recommendation is Pat. I recommend Pat Meta as the senior class advisor. Is there a second?
A second.
Been moved and seconded to accept Pat Meta for the senior advisor. All in favor? And the academic decathlon. Pat Meta was nominated again. I move that we accept Pat Meta as the academic decathlon supervisor or director. Is there a second?
I second it.
Okay, been moved and seconded to accept Pat Meta as academic decathlon. All those in favor? Oh, yeah,
Discussion.
discussion, yeah.
My feeling on this is that Mrs. Meta is getting stretched too thin. That's all I have to say. It's too much to expect her to be principal and do all of these things. And I think that as a little bit of time goes by, maybe somebody from the staff will see that if there isn't an activity being available for these kids, somebody would volunteer. But I don't think it's fair for her to feel responsible to fill in these positions when we have staff that don't participate in any activities, and we can't make them, but, you know, it kind of goes unsaid. When you're a teacher, you're going to work with these kids in other activities and put in some time outside your regular school day. And I think we're putting too much on Mrs. Meadow.
Pat, am I to understand that you're doing this just because no one else wanted it?
Yep.
And are you,
I'm not
and we're
doing-
glad that you're doing it, but would you give it up if someone came forward?
Yes, most
Okay,
definitely.
okay, well, that,
I've emailed, we've sent it out in letters. I
Yeah.
mean, people are doing as much as they can do, they really are. You know, but I also don't wanna see something that we have kids that are excited about be dropped because nobody's there to do it. It's done after school hours, it's done on my own time.
We just don't want you stressed out.
What's
I'm
the-
already stressed out. I'm already stressed as much as I can get, you know?
is the requirements for the director of that, a 4 or 5 year degree minimum for the,
For what?
for the decathlon?
No.
Anybody can do it? A
Anybody.
parent?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I would strongly suggest that we vigorously advertise for that.
We did,
Yeah.
Out in the community, though?
yeah.
You
Yep.
did? Well, we can try again. Anyway, it's been moved and seconded to accept Pat Meta as the academic decathlon director.
Yep.
All those in favor?
You know why. I mean, I said my reasons.
Okay,
It's too much.
it's not unanimous, so I need
Yeah.
All right, that
to keep my
concludes
notes
that.
straight.
Okay, on the old business, we have the bidding purchasing policy. This
Well,
Do
got-
you
got-
feel that this needs to be done right now,
No, you've got
Bill, or
that.
can you bring that to us at a later date?
I can bring it back at you, we can
Okay.
put it on the table. You do have the second readings for the adoption, policy adoption process, with 2 votes, information, discussion, and action. And that's BFC, and it's the first one in there. And then also your co-curricular hiring needs your second reading as well. Process is established, I believe.
Yeah, well, just throw those all in with the other ones that you do, Bill, and bring them to us at some point later. This isn't gonna take long, I assume. Well, you said it didn't. It would-
Second reading won't take you very long at all.
No, but I
Motion
mean,
vote.
getting all of the policies
Oh.
revised and stuff, what's the timeline on that?
Well, let's see, as I showed you, there's about 400 of them.
Yeah, but do we want,
Yeah,
get-
we can take
some
care
we
of
have
the
to do
ones that we
first, yeah,
have to,
yeah.
the mandatory ones, the
I'm gonna
state
take care of the
ones.
mandatory ones, and there's about 70 of those.
Mhm.
It's gonna take us a couple of months to get them all together and done for you. It's whether you wanna take 70 at a time, you wanna break them up into
Understood,
clumps.
yeah.
70 will be a book of reading.
Yeah.
Some of them are 8, 10 pages long, regulation-wise.
Well, throw anything that we had on the table in with the next to-do list,
Okay?
okay?
All right.
And we'll be done with that. What's that? We're going,
I just have a question.
Sure.
About this hiring policy for the co-curricular positions. The wording on number 5, where it says, will be open to application by Baileyville School Department professional teaching staff candidates.
Right, because this is also part of the contract issue. If it's in their contract, then it will open to them, but not to anybody else. You can change that under policy and make it open to anyone if you'd like, under policy, to all staff. And I would suggest that, but that's what I was given when we reviewed it for language.
we can talk about it later.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll put a question mark around that, so I've got it.
Can I just,
Do the- Yeah, sure, go ahead, Pat.
on that, just on that same note, when we were in the book looking at policies, this actually is a procedure, not a policy. Your actual hiring policy for co-curricular positions is, I don't know if it's in this packet, but it's actually
GE?
GE.
No, GE.
And this is actually the procedure for that. You can't have 2 policies that are exactly hiring policy for co-curricular activities. One says hiring policy for extracurricular activities, but they're the same thing, and this really is the procedures, I think, not the policy.
Well,
Policy adoption,
check
No.
that out, Bill.
Well, yeah.
There was one other thing to that,
Yeah, we just
Pat, that I
happened to
wanted to,
notice it.
You wanted to,
yeah,
yes.
I want the board to be thinking about, under the, when we amended this policy a few meetings ago, there were some valid issues with the personnel, as far as not liking it. So, having to go through the interview process, it finally dawned on me that it really didn't make any sense to interview the people that were already in the position. I think it only makes sense to interview the new people that are applying for it. Now, I don't know if that makes any sense to anybody or not, but it does to me. So, just be thinking about that when you're throwing that together, and
Yeah, I will. I'll put some language
Can I
together.
put
make
the,
a statement about that?
Sure.
Andy, like we did in that
Yeah.
meeting the other day?
yeah,
And the caution that I had for Andy around that is that, let's take a person in the school that holds a co-curricular position. They've done it for years. They do a good job. We're continuing with them. The only person that you're going to interview is the new person. Somebody that comes in with some great ideas and they're all gung-ho and they want to do this and they want to do that. Well, the other part of that is you don't know the person that's held the position for 5 years. Now, it was stated that the administration would bring forward that recommendation, but I'm very nervous that the recommendations that we bring forward aren't always what are taken, so I'm nervous for those people that don't get interviewed, that they will have an unfair opportunity. I'm really concerned about
I
that.
have to agree with
Well-
Patty.
Okay, and I think I might have something here. The advantage that the person that's already holding the position is that there should be annual or biannual evaluations presented, and to this day, we've never seen one, so.
But that doesn't always matter.
Well, it would if we wanted to get us up to speed on the existing candidate. I mean, they'd have those evaluations they had to review and get us more up to speed than to not do anything at all. So,
Well, we had the coaches' evaluations, and that didn't matter, so I'm just
Yeah,
being
well,
cautious.
yeah,
I
we'll-
don't think it's a fair,
we'll take it under advisement, and that's a good idea, and I'm sure we can work something out. Let's see, under new business, we're gonna go right to the back page, to B, C, D, and E, and I think we could probably accept those all in one group without too much discussion, Bill?
Yes,
Okay,
they're all required.
Yeah,
They're all new,
yep,
and it's really pretty much a review from 8/14, where they were actually adopted. So these were adopted just a year prior before I came, I guess, because I came in 10/14, so 2 or 3 months before I came. So I'm guessing Barry went through these with the board at that point in time. They're all required policies. Last adoption date, as I said, was 8 of 14. They're all up to date, so I think it's just a question of
all right,
improving.
I'll entertain a motion to accept B, C, D, and E. Or better yet, ACAA, ACAA-R, ACAB, and ACAB-R.
And you might as well do one on the first page, AC, as well.
Did I miss one?
Yeah.
Yep,
That's
and
one.
AC.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll make that motion to accept the listed procedures as written.
Yes.
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to accept the written procedures as written. The presented procedures as written. Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0.
May I ask a question?
You may ask a question.
Are these subject to publication so the public gets to review them?
Everything we do, Tom, is public knowledge, or available to the public.
After you vote them or before?
Both.
Will these be published then before your second reading?
They're published now.
They're published now
Where?
at the superintendent's office, I believe.
And they should be in the packets too, that go out a couple weeks before, week before. Whomever,
So I can walk in and ask for them. Thank you.
all of
Anytime.
course.
Okay, number 12, update from the AOS Reorganization Committee.
Nope,
No,
Study
there's-
hall.
What?
Academic study hall.
academic study hall. The addition.
Remember the Patty added?
Yep, I'm right by it. Okay, Pat.
I'd like to make a recommendation, and I think it would be a smart move on our part. There's been complaints, everybody knows that, about academic study hall not being a meaningful time for kids to raise their grades, and that's the reason that they're in there, is to improve their grades. Right now, in the school system, we have a remediation period every single day, 6th period, well, every day except for Friday. 6th period for students, and they can be claimed by teachers, or they can ask to go to teachers. We also have a after-school tutor being paid with Gear Up funds on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays until 4 o'clock. I'd recommend that with our current eligibility policy, where students have to attend study hall, academic study hall, if they are failing at progress report time, that instead of having that academic study hall, we require them to go to remediation, which is a much more effective period for them to get help, because they can actually go and spend the time with the teacher as opposed to just sitting in a study hall. Either that, or they're given the opportunity to go to the after-school tutor. They have the choice of one or the other.
Is it, will that fit into a schedule, this remediation thing? So I'm assuming.
Everybody has remediation.
Oh, they do?
in 6. Every
Yeah.
single student and every teacher is available to work with them.
Okay, sweet,
I like that idea.
yeah.
They have a choice.
What say you, Bill?
I agree, I think that's a perfect idea, and it makes the time usable. Having that time when staff is available to, actually the teacher themselves available to support the student and what they need, super. Rather than try to pull somebody that may or may not have calculus understanding.
Well, what has to happen for this to happen? What, any major
You
adjustments
just
or
have to approve it.
just to approve it?
It's a change to the athletic handbook, but there's a statement at the beginning of the athletic handbook, as there is with the student handbook, that changes can be made at any time as long as they are approved and known by the students and parents. So that change would go out in the next progress report. We would make sure the parents knew about that change.
So when do you expect this to, or when would you like this to go into effect?
At the next progress
No.
report,
About how, what's the timeline on that?
week 9.
Week 9? Elaine?
If I understand you, does this mean that we wouldn't really hold an academic study hall? Or are we paying an academic study hall teacher?
We would not hold an academic study hall. We would no longer pay to have academic study hall.
So all students go to
Students would
whichever
go
teacher
to
that they
whoever
need
they are failing
help.
for. They go to the teacher that,
Yeah, and
needs
if
them.
if they have more than one, then they would alternate?
Yeah.
Yes.
What we do right now is we have a Google Doc, and the teachers claim students. But if students really aren't invested and don't care to be claimed or to retake a test or something like that, they'll simply go down there and give the teacher a hard time or sit there. They're not allowed to refuse. So this stops that from happening, because if they do that, then it would be considered an absence from academic study hall. And 2 absences from academic study hall, you're off of a team or out of an activity. So that, and if student, doing college, was doing another course during that time or doing an online course, then they would have the opportunity of staying after school with a tutor. But they would have to use that tutor time. It would not be time that they could sit and stare at a wall.
There aren't any time constraints on this, though. Academic study hall was for a specific time period. This tutoring period, is there a time that they're
Well,
required to
You
attend?
could
or like-
say to the student, at the next progress report, if you are then passing all of your subjects, they're still gonna be claimed by teachers, but we're hoping that it just becomes a normal habit for kids to get into, that wanna be claimed by teachers, that wanna go in and get that extra remediation before they retake a test. We're trying to make it something that the kids really ask for themselves, and the teachers are no longer having to be the ones that say, I want you, and you.
I
And a lot of
understood
kids
that,
are.
Patty, but what I was asking was each day. I mean, academic study hall was till what, 4 o'clock?
3:30,
But the
I
student
think.
wouldn't be required to spend a specified amount of time each day now with this.
Well, they
Just
would.
whatever.
They would. It would be whatever the entire period 6, which is
Okay.
a 53-minute period.
Okay.
So it is a specified, and they'd have to go at least 3 days. 3 out of 4.
This is, yes.
As you know, we do have some 6th graders that join the junior high teams, basketball, or what have you. And some of those kids are not passing. And I think we had a conversation some time ago regarding this, and I know we can't do it tonight, but I need you to be thinking about how come those sixth graders can play basketball or whatever sport it is when they are not passing all of the subjects, where the junior high kids have to really go to academic study hall or get that extra support so they can continue to participate.
That's a good question, Jane.
It
And
is.
it
Very
is
good
a
question.
developmental piece as well.
It's developmental, but Pat, if you have a policy that seventh and eighth graders need to be passing their subjects,
Mhm.
then those sixth graders who will be seventh graders soon need to be on that same page.
And if they're playing on the team as a junior high team, then yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Have you that really
Yeah.
close?
They follow the same rules.
Yeah, they have to follow the same
That
rules.
makes sense.
Our seventh and eighth grade does have the advantage of having 2 remediation periods. The sixth grade does not. I think you've got to take that into consideration, that our kids have a 2 remediation periods in order to improve
You
their
have the
grades.
after-school program
Yeah.
that is funded by Title I that they could attend.
And I
There are many
believe,
kids that should be there that aren't.
I'm good with whatever you decide.
Ms. Foley has a question.
can I say
Yeah.
something first? I believe that the, and I'm not going to say any names, but the sixth grade teacher at the elementary school, in my opinion, does an excellent job in giving her students study time in her classroom to get things done. I don't believe that she's one to give a lot of homework either, so I have to agree.
Well, this seems like some sort of an urgent, we gotta give that some thought. Not tonight, though.
I'll sit down with the two administrators
Yeah.
and see if we can at least, probably not write a final draft, but at least draft some information together so you get something to draw from, and I'm sure we can develop something
Yeah.
relatively quick.
I'm sure.
And we're writing
I'm
the
sure.
eligibility policies right now. I mean, there's no better
Yeah,
time
right.
than to look at all the different things that are going on.
But didn't we have that problem, haven't we had that problem in the past when we've had seventh and eighth graders from other schools, and we had no authority or no way to
Right.
check to see if they're passing?
Enlighten us, Miss Foley.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to say, responding to Elaine's worries about holding kids accountable, that I think that Mrs. Mehta's suggestion is actually a way to hold them to a greater degree of accountability, because as it is right now, I'm actually retrieving kids from the academic study hall after school and bringing them in for language arts health then. Because it's the only way I really can get them if they've been claimed by other teachers during grade 6. So if we had a situation in which participants in extracurricular activities would be obliged, as a condition of their playing whatever game or belonging to whatever club, were obliged to get help, targeted help from teachers whose classes they're failing or in which they're struggling, would really be more effective, I think, than the after-school study hall, which is really a punishment. It's not a help period. It's just a punishment. That's really what it is. You're going to hold your hand on the radiator until you start being a better person. And I really am not too interested in punishment, but I am interested in holding kids, sending them through a rigorous program. So that is any help in the discussion.
Yep, thank you. It always is, Pat. Thank you. Is this something that can wait till the next meeting, or it can? Yes? No?
I just wanted to bring to your attention that this
Yep.
concern.
Thank you.
We have
Oh,
our
thanks very
next-
much.
Yeah.
We have our next eligibility meeting on the 27th, and I think that that's something that group probably should
Take a look at it.
take a look at as well.
good.
It really needs to be part of our new eligibility policy that we're working on. So I hope we don't just rush to make a decision outside of that, because there's a lot to talk about.
I think that's a good place to tie it.
4:30.
Thank you.
4:30 on the 27th, I believe. And anyone's invited to that would like to attend.
Yes, please. Yeah, sure, Patsy. Please do.
Do we seem to be having more students that are failing, up to progress report time?
Well,
Because I heard.
it's really hard to tell right now, Patsy, and I'm sure that you've heard the numbers, but we have to remember that our first progress reports come out at the 4-week mark. The students may have had one assessment up to that point, and that assessment is worth 80% of their grade. So if they had one assessment in a classroom and they bombed it, they're failing. If they didn't go in and take their retake in time, they're failing. So I don't think that looking at a student's grades at 4 weeks and determining where they are academically with the new proficiency-based standards that we're looking at is an appropriate time for us to look at. I mean, we just switched to semester grading. We really need to switch to year-long grading. We really need to switch to kids get a grade at the end of the year. And we watch them all along and we watch them in between, but their actual grade comes to them at the end of the year, because what proficiency-based grading is all about is trending over time and trying to see the trend of students moving in an upward direction. That's what it's about. So, yes, more kids are failing than I've noticed before this early on in the year, but with 4 weeks, it's really, I don't know if you could really say that they're failing students. I think you just have to say they're students who had a bad test grade.
I understand, but I didn't know that anybody knew.
Yeah, okay.
All right, we'll to number 12 on the agenda. Update from the AOS Reorganization Committee. Is Steve Knowles here? No?
Steve and Jamie were supposed to have,
Yeah.
they were going to,
Yeah.
do, and they're not here.
Okay, so I guess I'm the only one.
Do you want to?
There really isn't much to report at this stage. We had really our first meeting. I wouldn't count the first one. We just came up with the first list of questions for the first one. And at this point, we divided up some of the questions. A few people took responsibility to research them, and we will be reporting back. And I don't know if I even brought the date for our next meeting.
Next day,
28.
Yeah. Oh, geez, really?
What time?
5:30.
Okay.
We're all
Oh, I
5:30.
can go as a member of the audience, right?
Let's
Yeah.
see.
Yes, you
Okay.
can.
Yeah.
What time did you say?
5:30. It's
I'll
in the
look in
town
just a
office,
second.
though.
Okay, town office.
One room or the other, whichever
Yeah.
one we
Try.
5:30 to 28, town office.
What, 5:30?
Yeah.
We have negotiations at 3:30 on that day.
We'll be all right.
Will?
Yeah, we'll have to go from one to the other. We'll make it.
All right,
Bring
copy that.
snack.
I got you covered. Let me write this note down. What am I writing? Oh, yeah.
AOS
Yeah.
I need
Got it.
a
Investigation.
Remediation piece.
Huh?
Yeah.
Investigation
Yeah.
Committee, that's what we decided to call it.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
You mean on the academic study hall remediation?
Yes, I need an answer on that.
Yeah, I see.
I'd like to get information out to parents if there's a change on that as soon as possible.
Is that something we can do tonight?
So there is no longer.
Yeah, that was addressed,
longer
because there was no
2:30 to 4.
meeting. Yeah, thank
Tuesday,
you.
Wednesday, Friday?
That would be, but not until the progress report comes out.
Okay.
Is that something
Well-
we can do tonight, the academic study hall
that is
remediation?
9?
Remediation suggestion.
I guess I'm a
added.
little
Do it
confused.
tonight? You serious?
No, I was asking.
Oh,
The the study hall that you emailed me about from 2:30 to 4, that is not the one you're taking out.
No.
Okay,
That
thank you.
is-
That's what
that
I
is,
need to know.
Paid for by Gear Up grants. We have
Okay, so
grant
that's-
for 7 years.
that's
and
still in
that's a
effect.
tutorial.
That's a
It's
tutorial,
not a study
rather than a
hall.
mandatory study.
Okay, well, that's mandatory for mine, so,
Yeah, well, depends on how strong a mom.
very strong.
There you go.
Yeah,
I-
that's completely different.
Yeah.
So, what Pat is asking for is it approved for her to go forward with a change in, Steve, is it a change in the mandatory study hall practice? Is that, I mean, you ought to have a motion, something to accept that so she can move forward
A change in the mandatory study hall practice.
under the eligibility policy.
The students would now still have a mandatory remediation, but the remediation would either take place during period 6 or in the tutorial period after school, one or the other.
Just need
Yeah.
approval to do that.
Yeah,
And
general
what-
consensus, is that everyone,
General consensus is fine.
board members okay with them pursuing that?
Yep,
Absolutely.
I think it's a good idea to
Alright,
give them a
thank you.
choice.
Move forward. I guess we're looking for a motion to adjourn.
I have a question.
Oh, we have another question.
I just want to clarify this. Junior high basketball,
Open.
it's
It's
open.
open, yeah.
So I don't think, oh, I can't do that. You have to do it, Mr. Sean.
Sean?
I do have a question about that, seeing as you brought that back up. This season is going to start very shortly. My son is held in limbo. What do you want me to tell him tonight? The board did what they wanted to do
Junior high.
versus what the recommendations were? I mean, the question that people are asking is, why did you waste everybody's time doing the interviews if you were going to do just what you wanted to do from the beginning? This season is going to start. They have no coach.
Well,
To me, and I hate to interrupt you, I'm gonna lay it right on the line, it stinks of a personality problem, and it bothers me. And all I know is, all of last year, when we traveled, all we got were positive responses about the behavior of those boys. And if I had received anything negative, I would be the first one to stand here and say, you know what, maybe we need to make a change. This is something personal. You'll never convince me that it's no. But now, I want you to tell me what I'm supposed to go home and tell you.
I can't tell you that, Sean. It's not my place to tell you.
Well, it's somebody's place.
No, it's not mine.
Why did you have anybody interview? The recommendations were made. Patty raised an excellent point. The recommendations were made, and you did what you wanted to do anyway. And I'm not saying you. I'm looking at you because you're the chairman.
Right,
But I'm meaning the 5 of you.
okay. We changed the policy slightly before these went out to advertise, and that was to allow anybody inside or outside the school system to apply. People that were within the school system were going to get first dibbies on it if they were qualified. Didn't find anybody, we could go outside and find someone who was interested. And we asked the administrators to bring to us the top 2 or 3 candidates for each position. Didn't have that many. Okay? We cannot be held to have to agree every single time with the administrators, with the community, with the Department of Education, with Maine School Board Association. Can't do that, Sean. It's impossible. We are a committee of people from this community who are doing the best we can and making the best decisions based on the information that we have.
But you didn't. Based
Well,
on
that's
the
your
information-
opinions.
No, hold on. You spoke now. Based on the information that was provided to you, it was recommended that Bonnie Perry get the JV job.
I understand that.
Right. So, if you're the committee of people that live in this area and you make the decision based on the information that is given to you, that should have been what you did. Unless you have a reason, something outside that none of us know about, that needs to be shared.
No, I'm not going down that road, Sean. We made the decision, and we'll handle it.
You don't suffer the consequences of it.
Well, no one's suffering any consequences yet, so
The kids
let's
are
just,
gonna suffer a consequence.
well, I'm glad you can predict the future. I can't. We've made our decision. This
Don't
discussion's
condescend to
over.
me.
What's that?
Don't condescend to me. Don't say about predicting the future. Don't do that. I'm just saying to you, I'm asking for a reason. And if you can look at me and say, I can't give it to you, that's one thing. But you're just saying, I don't want to.
I'm saying I can't give it to you. And I'm not going to, Sean.
That's
Now,
fine.
this discussion's over. Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?